Hello, everybody. Live on Facebook group, live on the Authentic Woman You Are community platform with Catherine Tétroyot and Karine Labrosse. Welcome back, Karine, and hello to Catherine, my collaborator for Bloom.
Hi, Jen. It's good to be back. It's been a while. Hi, Catherine. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, same
Uh,
here.
yeah, it's a good way to start the year. It's my first live of the year, and I'm really happy to be doing it with you guys, girls. I should say. Sorry,
Yeah.
with you women.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about a bit about your who you are, your program Bloom, and I wanted to start with maybe a quick presentation. Jen, I know you a bit, but not everyone knows you yet. And Catherine also, it would be nice if you just talk a bit about your background and what led you to this co-creation.
All right. Catherine, do you want to start?
All right. Yeah. So I'm Catherine Tétroyot. I'm a transformational mentor. I help women embody boldness and courage to powerfully create their lives. And, my story is really an initiatory story. So I'm a ritualist, and every leap that I've taken has taken me to the next step. And it's really been about like embodying the next layer of my truth, of my gifts, as I'm walking my path, as I'm taking those leaps, as I'm changing my life, as I'm creating, letting go and creating. So it's really been about like walking my path. So me moving from 15 years in the corporate as an HR director, feeling, helpless, miserable, like the whole life looks perfect outside, but inside it's empty. And just taking those steps, like, moving out of the trenches, like it really how it felt for me, moving out of the muddy well and shifting into becoming the leader of my ship. Like choosing, like, I do not tolerate this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want to create this. And taking responsibility and ownership and just being relentless and with this path of my soul, and moving into self-love and courage and the joy of reaping, like reaping and harvesting every single crossing that I've taken. And I have a family, I have a husband and two kids, and so really like writing transformation with that reality and weaving my life with them and empowering and enrolling my husband and my family into this vision of changing the setup, the lifestyle, um, the force, the driving force of how we choose to lead our lives, and eventually like moving into more presence and consciousness and impact. So it's really been a hell of a ride, and so much joy and gifts came. And, I met Jen during my path. Actually, I was a consultant, a management consultant in Place Ville-Marie, downtown Montreal, for a big fintech, and making good money, but wearing the suit and not being in my gifts and feeling really frustrated. And then I started working with Jen with the womb and the embodiment. And I still remember doing the mini squat in the bathroom there to ground myself using Jen's teachings. And then it was it. I was like, this is it. I'm finishing this contract, and I'm starting to offer my gifts to women and create leadership circles. And that's when it started. I started to work. I leaped into the sacred womb space for the first time. And from that place, it was like I would no longer tolerate my self-sabotage. I would no longer tolerate not offering the best of who I am and my essence, and seeing how much it has impact. And it's just been about taking those leaps and really upgrading all the spheres and the kind of like categories into like from separation into unity. And then something opened up in the past year. I was approached to write a book on collaboration, and I started to move away from the student with like our posture had started to change because we started to invite each other on summits, and it was so obvious that she had to be in this book because she had told me so much about relationships. And it was like, I went to her and I was like, you got to do this. And we wrote a book on collaboration. And little did I know, I wrote about collaboration with spirit. And walking my talk was about choosing to move my family to Costa Rica, to really be like fully true. And then the chapter ended with that. And it was because I wrote this book that I was like, well, we have to do it. Like, the guidance is so clear. And then the moment I stepped in Costa Rica, I was with Jen and we started talking about creating a summit. And we realized that it was not about a summit. It was really about creating Bloom. And it came like out of nowhere. I did not expect that. And it took over, like, and now it's just been really about feeding this baby, this energy, this, like, it's really, really pristine, but powerful. And just like so much like deep bow, because it requires to do the work every day and shift faster and really upgrade the level of service, so we also live it, so we can allow women to step into it. And then we can speak into Bloom later, but that's my intro and how I got to, work with Jen and started to co-create Bloom, this amazing entity.
Yeah, just the image is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you, Catherine. I received
you.
so much from your sharing. It's just, yes, I feel Bloom. I feel the co-creation. I feel everything that we've been weaving, and it's yes, it's really beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. On my side, okay, let's see what wants to come out right now about myself and presenting myself. I'm an embodiment and transformational coach. I come also from corporate. I worked about 13 years as a mechanical engineer. And at one point I decided to leap because it was not making sense to me anymore. And the calling in my heart was so strong that I hit a wall, and it was either I was going to get depressed and sick, or I was leaping into a complete unknown territory. Just give me one. Okay. All right. And I chose to leap into this unknown territory, and I leaped inside. I leaped home. That's how I love to call it. And this home took me on a journey of being immersed in yoga teachings, yoga therapy for about 10 years. So I went from a corporate identity to a yogic identity. And along those years, I got to learn so much about the body, how it functions, how it communicates, how it channels, how to build resilience in the nervous system, how to tap into our potential, how to cut the bullshit out of our life. I got pregnant in all of this. I learned how to tap into the conception and birthing codes through this, and how to also create space for the fetus to grow. So a lot about embodiment in the last 10 years, I would say. And I grounded myself in this, offering different types of spaces. And like I said, it was quite unknown at the beginning. I started very small with small groups, and then it grew. I trusted the guidance, and it grew from small groups to bigger groups up until I had my 6 months container called Sacred Womb Space in the last few years, where many women came through and learned about the power and the value that they had. And very, very humble work where Catherine was part of this too at one point. And I felt it then with Catherine. I was like, there's something about that woman. At one point we will co-create, but somehow I knew that the path needed, the guidance was telling me, no, like we both need to flow individually first, and then something's gonna happen. And I also leaped to Costa Rica. I've been coming to Costa Rica many years, but it's a new leap this year, investing in Costa Rica, staying way longer here also. And we met, and I was like, okay, let's channel that direction that I received some years ago. Let's bring it in here and propose, like in that sense.
Propose.
I mean,
I said yes.
Where's the ring?
I make fun with this. I find it funny to put it like this, but it really felt like this, and it's all about timeline and time and timing. So there is a timeline that I was tapping into a few years ago, and there was a timing that felt right. And I felt the calling, and no filters was there to stop it. So I let it out. And like, hey, what do you think that we shift from creating a summit to creating actually a program and allowing this to bloom? And Bloom came like this also. We were both like, hey, Bloom. And it came like this. Like, we didn't even think about the name. Bloom came. And this movement of blooming came. So those are the big lines of, you know, my background and the medicine that I love sharing with people. The medicine of the womb, the medicine of intrinsic power, you know, their real raw power. And yes, and, you know, bridging spirituality with reality, making things real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's really interesting to me with Bloom, is that you have the concept of the seed, and a lot of work I know that you do, Jennifer, and I'm pretty sure Catherine is the same. You know, we work a lot on the invisible. You know, the seed is there, we have to water it. So that's the part where you work on the invisible. But then I think the next step, you have to materialize. You know, the flower opens up, and I like the image of bridging the invisible with reality. You know, it's sometimes it can feel a bit woohoo, but it's, when it's embodied, then it's real. You know, it becomes something tangible and beautiful and flavorful. So I really like this image of something becoming real and grounded also in the underground. You know, like it's stable in both universe. Anyways, I'm super excited about this program. I'm not even in it, and I'm excited about it. Is it okay? Tell me more about the program. Is it for anyone, everyone? If our viewers are new to this, they want to discover, is it a yoga class? Is it what is it? Can you?
Well, I mean, we mostly attract women that have been walking their path, you know, that have stepped their foot into, you know, spirituality, healing, you know, going within. It's not like new, like it's not like the very first, you know, space that they step into, but it can be new in terms of like how sacred and profound it is, and how transformative it is, because we really come with both like that, like super I don't know, like profound transformational work. The difference with with both our mentorships program, I had both an embodied, and Jen had sacred womb space, which were both 6 months container. The difference is that like the intention is really the blooming, the creation. So there is a leap into commitment, you know. So like you're gonna harvest it, like you know, but like the women that come in are ready to harvest themselves, to bloom into their perfume, into their gifts, to birth themselves, to create visible manifestations. So it's, you know, they're like, let's say in Bold and Embodied, there was a lot of healing and self-love, and that still gets to happen, but like we shift also into action. Like the actual healing happens when you're doing it, and that's where for me the leaps have been really quick. I would say that like it's really been about like the timing has been faster, because like the healing was like 10 years, but then in 2-3 years like creation happened, like two, you know, like everything lined up, like, oh, that's my life, that's it, you know, that's what I was working for. So there's something around like you've walked your path, you're ready to receive. So we're gonna help you learn to receive, you know, like there's something around like soul wealth and receiving the goodness of life, the life force, the capacity to create outside who you are inside. So there's really like quality of readiness, which comes with, of course, like trembling, and you know, like there is fear and doubts, but there's like a hunger, you know, there's a boldness that's like, okay, you know, I'm putting my wild hat on, and I'm diving in with total humility that you know, there's going to be crossings, and you'll have to let go of some stuff, you know, of some stories, identities, perhaps, you know, material things, relationships, who knows. But you're going to receive as much as you give of yourself. So that's what comes to mind. That's the woman that we've been calling them, like, yeah, that we've been calling in, and we already have 8 women fully committed. So it's like the container is getting more and more solid as women are coming in. So it feels like we can really speak into the bloomer.
The bloomer, that's a new word. The bloomies.
The bloomies, yeah. So I'd love to hear, Jen, what you have to add on this.
Again, I really feel you wrapped it up very well, Catherine. Let's see. What I want to bridge, like I really want to insist on bridging spirituality with materiality, really coming from the invisible to the physical, as within, so without, really working as a creatrix, really understanding what a creatrix is, and manifesting from that place of inner knowing that whatever you cultivate inside is going to reflect and is going to manifest on the outside, and playing with life in this. Playing, and I love the word playing because it doesn't need to be heavy. You know, we will address some shadow work if we need to address shadow work in the container, but we will not linger into the shadow work or into the healing work like Catherine was saying. It's more like we go faster, we understand, we know how it operates, you know. Of course, embodiment is going to be a huge part of it because we really, really want to make sure that the body can handle the potential of the vision and of the calling, and it doesn't stay in a dream la la land and it becomes frustrating for the person. And most women actually hire us for this because they got to a place where they're like, hey, I have visions, I have a calling, you know I want to be going there, I know I have gifts, I know my value, but it's not working. Like my body's not operating. It takes me time. I'm lingering in compensations or relationships, or I'm still living in an environment that is not suitable for me to bloom. So we are here to bridge this and accelerate the 3D process, because the pace of 3D is not necessarily the same pace as, you know, higher visions and timelines that we channel, maybe that are in next life, but it doesn't need to be in next life, you know. We can start crystallizing, but we have to understand that the body needs space, that the nervous system needs resiliency and ground, and then it happens with actions, with work. And work, it doesn't need to be like the old paradigm of, you know, working hard and all of this. We really come from a feminine space, a womb space, where we receive the steps and we act rather than react. We respond rather than push an action, which is a very, very different attitude. And also what I want to bring, and it's maybe Catherine, you're having this thought right now also, it's also that the codes of Bloom and the paradigm of Bloom is not at all anchored in patriarchy.
Nor scarcity.
Or scarcity. Yeah, so it's like, and it's not, you know, we are really tapping into those codes, and the texture is not there. So everything about sisterhood that was anchored before into, you know, fronts or competition or jealousy, comparison, or being intimidated by one's power in front of us or a sister's power in front of us, this does not exist at all in that matrix. And the frequency of scarcity also, it's not there because we are really, really bringing in wealth consciousness in it, which we have both been trained for years with both our mentor right now, and it's a new way of operating in money. Money does not have the same texture in Bloom. It's an exchange with service, with love, with truth, with gratitude. It has nothing to do with the old codes of lack, of fear, of control, of not being anchored in our power. This whole Bloom program is about sovereignty. It's about leadership. It's about you really resting in that power and speaking from it. And both Catherine and myself are transmitting those codes right now. So whatever you're receiving from whether Catherine or myself right now, it is encoded with Bloom.
And, you know, like we also, I'm sure that people are gonna say, oh, that seems so nice, but you know, I'm not super ready. I don't have the money. You know, we always have that pattern of that barrier that we put ourselves, I think, before taking a big leap. What would you say to people coming and saying, it seems super cool, but you know, I'm not ready, or I don't have the money, or like, how can we make that leap and not force it? Because I really like the feminine part that you bring. I know you guys are not salesperson, and you don't want to push anybody that's not ready, but sometimes I also feel that we need that, I'm not going to say push, but that gentle pull maybe to bring us into ourselves. What can you say about that?
I would say that, you know, it really starts with a choice. Because like, it's like you're gonna be ready when you choose that you're ready. And it always comes with a crossing. So whether you do it now or you do it in 2 years or 10 years, but what you're meant to transcend will always be shown to you. And then whether you do it now or later, it will be like those loops or those resistances that are shown to you. It's possible to to expand them. And you know, like, I see it as a portal of transformation, you know, like the stage, the ritual stage, since, you know, this is my medicine. And like, you you get to come in with an intention, and this supports you into transcending the stories. And for me, for so long, I was attached to my victim story and blaming others. And at some point, I just realized that the only way that it changes is that I take responsibility and I take leadership. So yes, it took me so much courage, but the moment I started saying yes to what I really wanted is when things started shifting. And it really requires those leaps. Like, for our subconscious, it's kind of like you're creating a stage where you're telling your whole being, things are changing. You're changing. You're, you know, like, things will manifest. And so, you know, it's about really receiving all of the resistances and seeing them and giving them like full presence, but then choosing to not necessarily empower that story and change the story. And I think this year is really a year of expansion, where you can choose, like, what's the story. And working with vision, you know, which is one of my medicine, of like, who am I becoming, what am I creating, what do I stand for, and constantly going back to that, is what like, all these things I wrote about, they came true because I chose to change the story of like, I don't want this, into I want this, you know. And that obviously came from a place of truth, but ultimately, it's at some point I said, well, I'm choosing to change the story. I don't want that story anymore. You know, so it's, yeah. So I would tell those women, you know, I would tell those women that they really have the power to make the choices, but they will have to meet the resistances, and they will have to let go of identities, of stories, you know. And that's, you know, that's work. So, and that's what we're there to support them. And once you find the path, once you learn the path, and your nervous system knows the path, and your being knows the path, there's a trust that starts to get built. And that's when you really start trusting yourself, and you trust life. You start trusting life. You start trusting life, like, really. And that's where the whole game changes. But you need to you need to lean into that no proof zone, and be willing to trust again, be willing to open yourself up again to receive those harvests. Yeah. So, yeah, the bow for each woman's path. And yeah, thank you for opening that up.
You want to add something to that?
Yes. I want to add something to this. I mean, for me, it also started with the decision. Without the decision, it just stays in the air. and it becomes just very frustrating. So everybody who's attracted to the codes of Bloom, it's a matter of choosing it, like Catherine was saying. I remember when I was hitting a wall between, you know, trying to bridge the success I had, let's say, as a mechanical engineer, and also the success I had as a yogi, right? And offering services. And I was like, well, it is possible to bridge financial success with spiritual success, right? And it was a decision. I remember when I made that decision, inside of me, everything shifted. I was like, it is possible to receive wealth and to be in my gifts. It is possible to receive wealth and to not compromise. It is possible to be sovereign, to not be serving in a system that is not in alignment anymore with me. I find it interesting that the noise is coming as I'm sharing this.
Yeah.
To be sovereign, to be really free. And not only freedom in the sense of spirituality, but also have a free life, right? So it's a choice. It is a decision. And I want to add that when people have resistance about money, there are two things that I often share on a call with them. First thing is always what's the cost of waiting. So there is the tangible cost, the money part, which is very tangible, but what is the cost of not investing now? And there is a cost. Most of the time it's you pay with your energy. You pay with your energy, you pay with your sanity of mind, you pay with your health, you pay in your relationships, in the way you mother your children, you pay. There is a price to pay when you don't invest, when the calling is here. I'm not saying when the calling is not here, yeah? When the calling is here and you don't invest and you don't take that leap of faith, as Catherine was sharing, there is a cost to pay. Yeah. The second thing that I share with people is that from personal experience, when I started investing at the higher price point, meaning my actual coach, which literally cost me $40,000 per year as a private mentor, my body was shaking. I remember when I was face to face with that decision, I was like, holy shit, you know, I'm really going to do this. I'm really going to take that leap. But the calling was strong and my intention and my commitment was strong. I invested. I spent 1 week without being able to sleep properly. My nervous system was shaking. My spine was like all in contraction, but I had the chance, how can I say, the gift of knowing how embodiment works. So I was working with my body and I was learning so much. I was like, wow, now I'm going to have access to the corresponding parts in my own body that are equivalent to that potential of 40K. I am going to be able at one point to charge that type of amount because I made that leap. I was able to unlock that specific power inside my own body. If I hadn't gone through that portal, through that how do you call this, Catherine? That
threshold.
Well, that door, right? I wouldn't have had access to that gift. And the gift is the power. The gift is the energy. And then it becomes mine, per se. It becomes embodied, and then I can start sharing with others also that part. So this comes from direct experience. It's not just a concept or something I read in a book. It's direct. And I was able to regenerate that type of money just in a few months after that, because I had unlocked that power inside of me. So it's leaping with trust, and Bloom is encoded in the trust frequency also.
Oh, we have to close this conversation, but I am sure that we could go on for hours because it's so interesting, and
we'll continue. We'll continue. We'll have more also.
Yeah, we'll have more.
Just before we go, the program starts on January 22nd. Is that it?
January 22nd, and we have an application form. There are some questions that are already like an initiation into the codes of Bloom. You will already feel it in your body. You can fill that up. We'll put the link underneath the videos so you can apply, and then we'll talk to you. We'll just have an intimate conversation with you and check your vision, check your calling, where you're at and what you want to be creating, and we'll take it from there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies. It was a pleasure talking to you. Jen again,
Thank you.
and Catherine for the first time, and I hope
Yes.
it's not the last. I hope you have a great day, and we'll probably talk soon.
Thanks, Karine.
Thanks, Karine.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye, everyone. So much love. Ciao.